going on, guys? Jake Peffer here. Welcome back to Jake's Cinema Room. Over the last couple weeks, I have been going through and rewatching the entire Fast and Furious franchise to lead up to the release of Fast X, and the time has come. I have seen Fast X at a screening tonight, and I'm here to share my thoughts on it. It is quite the movie, to say the least. Like I've been talking about in all my reviews for this series, this is a franchise that has gotten crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier, and that's basically what this franchise is at this point. It's what crazy over-the-top action sequences and crazy plot points can we throw at the audience just to make everything make even less sense and throw out all forms of reality. Well, Fast 10 takes that and ramps it up to about 1,000. To say the least. This is an insane movie, but despite all of the reality thrown out the window and the overly convoluted plot and some of the awkwardness of the movie overall, I still enjoyed the hell out of this thing. This was just a fun time at the movies, and I think that's what the director and everyone involved with these movies is seeing at this point. Yeah, it's dumb, it's big and loud and stupid, but it's entertaining. Like, it's a fun time at the movies, and what else could you really ask for? This time around, we've got a whole lot to unpack because we're going all the way back to Fast 5, and that's how we're setting this one up. When the gang took out Reyes, who was basically the ruler of Brazil in that movie, turns out he had a son named Dante, played by Jason Momoa, and now he is seeking out revenge on Dominic Toretto and his crew, and craziness definitely ensues. Speaking of Jason Momoa, this is the first actor playing a villain in the series that understands what they need to do with it. Yeah, we've had people in the past like Luke Evans, Jason Statham, Charlize Theron. I think they've all been good villains as far as the villains in this series goes. But Momoa is just on something else the entire time during this movie. And he is playing not only a menacing and crazy person, but he is flamboyant and over-the-top ridiculous. He is all over the place with his performance. But somehow it works. He just hones in on this character, Dante, and you can't get enough of him. You want him in every scene. And sometimes when he's not in it, the movie loses a little bit of steam. But overall, everything else here, I think works for the most part, but he is giving this movie so much more credit than it probably deserves because of this performance. To me, he is doing what Dwayne Johnson did in Part 5. When his character came on the scene, he kind of breathed new life into this series. And I think that's what Momoa is doing here. This is a series that's had its ups and downs for sure. I wasn't a big fan of Part 8. I know a lot of people didn't like Part 9, but I actually enjoyed it for the most part. But 10 is better than both of those entries by far, and a lot of it has to do with Momoa and his performance. And he is fantastic. I can't get enough of it. Elsewhere in the cast, everybody else here is doing a fine job. There's some other new good additions, I would say, to the cast as well. I like Brie Larson coming in as Little Miss Nobody. She's Mr. Nobody's daughter. We do get the return of Scott Eastwood as Little Nobody. He's not in the movie for very long, but he's whatever in it. Alan Richson is kind of a welcome addition as well. He basically kind of takes over in the absence of Mr. Nobody, who has gone missing, quote unquote, and disappeared from existence, I guess, or whatever. But he's actually a welcome addition to the cast as well. I think he does a good job. You get returning people like Helen Mirren making a cameo, she's always a pleasure to see. Jason Statham does show up as well, and he's good in what he's given. But I think with the announcement that this is actually the first part of a new trilogy that's going to end the Fast and Furious series once and for all, supposedly, I think they're going to kind of stretch this out a little bit because there's characters that do get brought up in this movie that don't get a whole lot to do, but it feels like they're going to have more to do in the next 2 entries, which I'm totally fine for, but this is kind of setting things up almost like an Infinity War type of level because you have so much going on here. You're going to have other characters doing other things in the next part, and then they're all going to come together, I guess, for the finale, and, you know, who the hell knows what that's going to be. But like I've said, this, you know, has some crazy over-the-top action. The action set pieces here, once again, are top-notch. Yes, this one does use quite a bit of CGI, but there is still some practical stuff being used, which I can always appreciate. And that's something that this series has always done relatively well. There are some moments here and there that do get a little iffy when it comes to the CGI, but it, for the most part, still works, I think. The comedy and the humor here is, once again, very funny. A lot of the actors in this feel like they're kind of getting back into the swing of things because definitely in part 8 and maybe a little bit in part 9 as well. Some of them felt like they maybe were getting a little tired of being in these movies, but actors like Tyrese, Ludacris, Sung Kang, they're all, you know, kind of back to their normal selves, and they feel like they're, you know, putting more emphasis into these performances in this entry than they did in previous ones. Things get a bit more physical for certain people in the cast, like Michelle Rodriguez has a lot going on. Charlize Theron comes back as Cypher, and they actually have a nice dynamic between those characters throughout the movie. You have John Cena coming back as Jacob, who was introduced in the previous movie. He actually almost feels like a completely different character in this one, but it's actually one that works well. And the dynamic he has with Brian, Little Brian, as they call him, or Little B, their dynamic is great, and they play off each other really well. And you actually get some pretty nice emotional moments between Vin Diesel and the boy that plays his son in this movie, and that was something I wasn't really expecting. I knew his son was going to play a larger role in this movie, but I didn't expect them to go the route that they did with it. And I actually enjoyed what they did with those characters, and I think actually putting a kid in with everything else going on just adds to even more how crazy everything is. But like I said, despite all of the, you know, flaws and the reality checks at the door, this is still a fun and entertaining movie. It's not one of the best in the series, but it is one of the better ones for sure. And I had a really great time watching it and really can't wait for the next 2 entries. Overall, I would give Fast X a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, it's got its flaws and it runs a little long, but everything that works really well, especially Jason Momoa and his performance. Like I said, can't get enough of it. And I'm excited for the next 2 entries in this series that supposedly are going to end this franchise, and we'll see if that happens. But yeah, that's about it for me, guys. When you get a chance to see Fast X, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I'll leave all my links down below on where you can follow me and check out more of my reviews. And until next time, I will catch you all later.